Hello, and welcome to the Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and I am so thrilled to have you all join me today for another conversation that is going to be empowering. I'm so grateful for every single person who always comes in, views, shares, gives me the space to be able to be my authentic self and do what I do with my show. For those listening, you know you're listening to a show that aims to inspire you to become the best version of yourself, but it also is a show where we talk about real issues and things going on in the world that are affecting real people. And I encourage you right now to download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to this show on the go on your electronic devices. Also, tag someone that you may know who may benefit. I feel like this conversation is going to be something that everybody needs to hear, no matter if you're 5 or you're 50. I think you can find something beneficial. And I really just think this is a conversation that you don't want to miss out on. As you may know, it's Black History Month. It's a time where we are celebrating our rich heritage, honoring the pioneers who've paved the way, and reflecting on how far we've come. But while February gives us that designated space to recognize our history, we must wake up to a deeper truth. Black history is not just a moment, it's a movement, it's a lifelong responsibility. And right now, we are witnessing a troubling reality where our history is being challenged, censored, and in some cases, outright erased. Books are being banned, school curriculums are being rewritten, and the voices of our ancestors are being silenced. And if we don't take action, if we don't take ownership of preserving and teaching our own history, who will? The responsibility falls on us, not just educators, but parents, leaders, and everyday people to make sure our stories live on. We have to do more than just remember. We have to educate ourselves, and we have to pass down the truth of our resilience, our brilliance, and our contributions, not just in February, but every single day. So today I am joined by an incredible guest who is at the forefront of this fight, and together we'll discuss why teaching Black history is urgent, how we can ensure future generations stay informed, and what steps we can take to protect the legacy of our ancestors, because the fight to protect our Black history is not just a fight for our future, it's a fight for our present, and we must make sure that we are on the front lines. But like I said, joining me once again is Commissioner Dianne Williams-Cox, a proud Quincy native and FAMU graduate with an MBA from Nova Southwestern University, a passionate advocate for voter engagement, women's rights, and underserved communities. She's been recognized as Capital Outlook's 2018 Community Advocate of the Year, and Commissioner Williams-Cox has a diverse background from working as a software developer with General Motors to serving 19 years with the state of Florida and counting, because she continues to serve in many capacities. She's also a dedicated servant leader, also active in Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority and Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. And I am so excited to welcome her back to the show. Welcome, Commissioner Cox. Uh-oh, you muted. Uh-oh. There we
Thank
go.
you. And I just got so carried away in your intro. I am so proud of you. Everything you do is just excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited and glad to be here. I'm just grateful that young people like yourself are picking up the mantle and running with it. Our future is bright.
Thank you so much. And I mean, as we think about this topic, like I said, y'all, to repeat, our subject today is Beyond February, the urgency of teaching Black history. Because I always often say, yes, it's good to celebrate during the month of February, but we get 365 days, depending on the year, sometimes 366 days to be Black every single day of the year. And not just in the things that we do, but also in the way that we are fighting for the things we want and speaking up. And so as we witness legislative efforts to censor Black history in schools, I mean, 2 years ago, DeSantis said that he was blocking the AP course because of the fact that he felt like it did not have any educational value. I talked about that on my radio show. Now we have Trump and his administration pushing back against diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And we're in the space now where he's giving, schools and universities 2 weeks to eliminate diversity initiatives or risk losing federal funding, which is raising the stakes in his presidential fight for wokeness. So when you think about that and hear about that, I just want to know, what do you see is the most effective way that we as a community can push back and ensure our stories are being told?
And thank you for that. The best thing that I see that needs to happen is we need to be true unto ourselves. We are not who people say we are. We are who we believe that we are. Before there was a Governor DeSantis, and before there was a President Trump, there was grandmama, there was granddaddy, there was auntie. These were the people who told us who we were. These were the people who told us what we came from, where we came from. It is time that we go back to doing those kinds of things and not relying on the system to teach our individuals, our children, to teach the community about us. It is up to us to make sure that folks are well informed and well educated, not misinformed, but well educated on the contributions of African Americans, Blacks, however you want to call us. We have contributed to this society in great ways. There are those who are still trying to figure out how we did those pyramids, but that's a secret we're going to take to our grave like King Tut did. So we've got to know our history. We've got to teach our history and not rely on others to tell who we are and tell us who we are to define us. We define that every day. We are making Black history every day that we are alive. It's more than 28 days long. Thank you for the time to pause and focus keenly. But I am Black history, just like you said, every day.
And I think it's important as well. I mean, growing up, I learned my Black history not just in the schools, but I learned it at church. I learned it in my house. I learned it from different members of my family, whether it was just small facts. I mean, I'm glad I'm in the space now. I had a African American history professor who taught us last semester in my literature course about all types of history that I would have never known. And I know they're trying to censor that now in our administration. We have so many things that are trying to be taken away. And if y'all are not seeing or realizing the urgency of really making sure that we teach Black history, you do have to wake up and look at the fact that we are going to have to be more strategic in the way we do things. Every generation has their own, viewpoint of how they taught Black history. We're more digital. Other generations are more word of mouth and more vocal when it comes to teaching things. But are there any key ways specifically that you feel like our churches and our communities need to do to take that lead in teaching Black history?
Absolutely. The last February, as a matter of fact, there was a conference held right here in Tallahassee where a statewide curriculum for teaching African American history was developed. It was delivered to the governor's office and it was delivered to the Department of Education. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think anything came of it from those entities. But throughout the state, that it was the blueprint for how to teach African American history. And it's my understanding that individuals and children are going to schools on Saturday to learn this history. There are field trips. There are places where you can go and see historical events and societies. Right here in the city of Tallahassee, we have the Riley House Museum, among others, that also teach that history. I'm going to be traveling to the DC area, as we all know about the African American Museum here in DC. That we have, that information is there. What we've got to do, even in a digital society, what we need to know is that there's someone that is controlling what goes out on social media. The algorithms determine what you see on social media. We can't depend on that because that's where they're teaching us how to think like somebody else wants us to think. Well, Elon Musk, I'm capable of thinking on my own, and I don't need you and Zuckerberg to decide what I see and what I don't see. So we've got to learn how to use those vehicles to also reach those generations. But going back to the church, which is where many of the movements occurred, back to the church, which is where our ancestors found hope. They found courage. They were able to do some things. Back to the church that started colleges and started banks and communities. We need to know these things because we need to know that we are stronger than we realize we are. We've got to know our own history. And so I'm encouraging us to take that extra help, that extra step to learn more about who we are. I had the opportunity to travel to Ghana last year, and what an enlightening experience it was to be where many of our people came from, but for slavery. But we got to remember, a Black history, African American history, does not start with slavery. It started on the continent of Africa, which is the second largest landmass on the globe. But when you see it on the map, it looks small because someone has tried to make you think that you came from somewhere small. Well, it's up to us to learn that the continent of Africa, not the country of Africa, because there is no country of Africa, the continent of Africa has about 55 countries in it. And there are great accomplishments that we're taking advantage of here in the United States that came from people from the continent of Africa. So we've got to teach it. We've got to learn it, and we've got to teach it. When I was in school, Black history was 1 week. It has grown to a month, but I now know that it is every day. So we've gone from a week to a month to every day, and we need to take every day to learn. Not be so focused on who the housewives are, not be so focused on the latest dance move. We got to be focused on strategically knowing our history and how to navigate it and get the word to everybody who we are and what we're going to do in this current climate and environment. Where it seems that things are being rolled back. Well, grandmama and them were able to do things without even having anything to roll back. So we've got to learn how to return to that old landmark and do it like they did it until we can do it better.
I also think we have to be bold enough to teach it too. I know there's so many people who are scared because they're unsure what legislation is going on. They want to play it safe. And I think the thing that I see the most just from learning about, different people who fought for us, the generations before us, they had a bigger level of confidence than any of us have had. We may have confidence to stand up for different things besides Black history, but when it came to coming together, they made those movements. They went beyond. They had the courage to sit in and to boycott and to do different things. And sometimes it will take that, but I mean, it's also really meeting people where they at. I mean, if I'm talking to those who are my age, I have a professor now, Professor Ariane Nettle. She's on her personal page the entire month of February giving facts about people who nobody ever heard about.
Yes.
It's things like that where you're using your own social media platforms. You're having times with your friends when you're at lunch or when you're in moments and spaces where you're having open dialogue where you introduce different things that you didn't learn. Whatever you learn for yourself, you don't just keep it with yourself. It's also sharing it with others. We have to get back to a place where we're spreading the right information. I mean, we're also living in a time too where misinformation is being spread so easily, where the media between radio and podcasts and social media platforms, even Black owned networks, are having to push to show their own narratives in a different way. And so what do you feel like those media outlets, how do they play in keeping our history alive?
Well, the media's job is to inform, but they've also got to be willing to do the research so that what they're informing us of is correct. They have a vital role. But as of late, so many are so busy with self-preservation, with the number of clicks or the number of likes that they get on their pages and how much money is spent for their advertisement, that sometimes they're driven by the almighty dollar and not necessarily by the almighty knowledge. We need to be able to get this information out there. And when I see our local media misquoting or saying something that I know is not correct, I reach out to them to correct it, to make sure that they know. Now, they may not put it out there, but they've been corrected. And if I get the opportunity, I also share on my page. I believe my job is to educate and to advocate. And that's what I try to do, because there are those who are at different levels of knowledge and education. There are those who have different levels of time to invest in this. There are those who are working 3 and 4 jobs trying to make the ends meet and keep their kids in school and keeping their kids in college. So I get it. It is a lot of work, but it is work that we as a family, as a community, if one can't do it, we got to get in there and help get it done. And the Black media is doing a concerted effort on making sure that we get this information. And I'll just put a plug in here. If we have not been supporting Black media, we need to support Black media, because once that gets shut down, we're only going to get the information that others want us to have. So we've got to have places like where you're doing your radio show, 95.3. We've got to have places like that. We've got to have the Roland Martins who are doing the deep dive research and coming back telling us what this research is saying, and then you can vet it and find out for yourself. We've just got to identify ways to support venues and avenues of tools and people who are getting this information to us so that we can act on it and not feel like we are a hopeless people. We've never been a hopeless people. And some want to say that we benefited from slavery. Oh, I think not. We did not benefit from slavery. Slavery benefited from us because we came with a set of tools. We came with a set of knowledge that we then used to help build this country. We built this country, and now we need this country to love us as much as we love it. We salute the flag. We do the Pledge of Allegiance. We pay taxes. We're no longer 3/5 a person. We are a whole person doing the whole work and paying the whole mighty dollar and trying to have this whole experience of being an American citizen. And I think we are entitled to that. I know we're entitled to that.
I also want to put this plug in there too, because like I said, the title is Beyond February, right? Don't just claim the dashikis and the African attire and the different things that we put on these pedestal during Black History Month, because those aren't the things that, yes, we celebrate, but that's not the focal point right now. Right now, this is, yes, we're celebrating, but it's so much more of a fight. And it may not be physical fight. It may be just showing up in different places, making sure that we're adequately making everyone's voices heard and making sure that we're represented in spaces that we aren't typically represented in, because the more and more we build ourselves up and the more and more we continue to go for different jobs and go for different initiatives and make sure we're showing up at legislative session and advocating for the things that we want. This is going to be the thing that keeps our history alive, not just talking about it, but truly being about the work that we want to get done. I mean, when we think about legislation session, are there any policies or legislative changes that you want to see that will better support the teaching of Black history in our schools?
Absolutely. We have a law that's on the books, that's been there for 30 plus years, that African American history will be taught in all of the school districts in the state of Florida. That has not happened. There are very few districts where African American history is being taught. For one, it's been on the books for 30 plus years. It is high time to implement it. And then in the teaching of it, there needs to be a curriculum that is a standard accepted curriculum for teaching it, to make sure that the education is not whitewashed like the ones that I received growing up, that I've had to learn, get out there and do my own research to learn, which was fine. But if you're being paid and it is a law to teach it and you're not adhering to the law, then somebody needs to pay for that. And so I would love to see that happen. And I'm not hell bent on the DEI, and I'll tell you why. DEI has benefited others more than it has benefited Black people. And you can Google it and do the stats. You'll find who has benefited most from DEI. What I'm going to make sure of is that, like you said, I'm going to show up in places that you might not expect me to show up, because I'm going to diversify that audience. I'm going to diversify that panel by being on it. I'm going to be inclusive because I'm going to invite others to join me in there. And I'm also going to make sure that if you're catering to me, I need to make sure you're catering to others. So that's how I'm going to do the DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion, by doing the act itself. Putting a title on something is one thing, but doing it is another thing. So I am DEI. Dianne, we encourage and inspires every day she can, and to invite people to spaces and places that they may not have been. So in this upcoming legislative session, we've already had 3 special sessions to deal with immigrant situations that I feel, if we're real quiet about that, That's going to spill over into some things that may have impact on the rest of us. Because, as one of the sayings say, when they came for them, we didn't say anything. So now they've come for us, and there's nobody to say anything for us. So we got to cry loud and spare not.
Thank you for sharing those points. I also want to make a point to everybody that I really mean it when I say beyond February, because I personally don't think I would be able to have the sense of identity I have if I didn't learn my Black history. Because I think that for a lot of people, when they learn that, it's something that does help them say, okay, I saw what happened in the past. I won't do that again, or I'll do different things. We always see history repeating itself, but just imagine how much it could repeat itself if history is no longer there. That's the thing that keeps people from either making the same mistakes or seeing ways that they saw others fighting for different things, and they say,
Right.
okay, if they can do it, I can do it. When you
Exactly.
erase Black history, there's a lot of young Black children that if they don't learn that history, if they don't see where we've come from, if they don't see the things that we're doing, they're not going to be able to fully embrace all of it. And it's not pretty. We've all seen, learning the 1900s, going back to the 1800s, 1700s. It's not a pretty history. Seeing all the years of slavery, seeing the different ways that they have, systemically and systematically oppressed us. However, it's things that you need to know, because if you look at what's going on currently between the different laws that they're passing, between Trump's executive orders, they trying to revert back to a lot of the things that happened not so long ago, that we often try to say, oh, slavery, that was a long time ago. It really wasn't. And if we don't sit in the place where we're learning it, where we're constantly
Right.
taking it beyond February, where we're making sure it's something that people are urgently teaching, then we're going to be in a space where when the more orders that they pass, the more things that happen, we're going to be caught off guard, or we're just going to say,
Yeah.
I wonder where this is coming from. It's been there all along. How do you think that HBCUs, though, really do play a role as well in preserving and passing down Black history?
That is a great question, and let me share with what you just said about how that it wasn't that long ago. My grandmother's grandmother was 8 years old when slaves were freed. That's how close it is to not that long ago. And they're not trying to roll things back. They are rolling things back. The flurry of executive orders, by the time you get to court and fight these things, they've already come undone, because, by the executive order, letters have gone out stopping programs and stopping funding because of this. And I think that what HBCUs have got to do is to do what we've always done. Think out of the box. Don't get boxed in about funding. Do the work anyway. There's nothing to prevent a professor from enriching a student by teaching them their history and by encouraging them, letting them know that others have done this and you can do it too. As a little girl growing up in Quincy, Shirley Chisholm, Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm from New York, ran for president in the early 70s. They may have said she couldn't do it, but she did it anyhow. And her
Yes, you
slogan
did.
was unbought and unbossed. She came through Quincy on her bus. I saw that bus as a little girl and was so proud of the fact that somebody who looked like me was running for president. I got the bug then to one day want to be in public office. Others along the way have encouraged me. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, being in the State House, encouraged us to run for office. And we're going to say, we got to say goodbye to Senator Geraldine Thompson. She also poured into me about running for office. So HBCUs play a vital role in helping us to get the education we need, providing us with individuals who've gone this route and done some things, who will encourage us and will also slap our wrist to let us know when we step out of line, we haven't done this and we haven't done that, to get it right, get it tight and right. Because if we mess up, somebody else may not get that chance to do it. And so that is what has caused me to be driven. Attending and graduating from Florida A&M University, I left that university with my head held high, with 2 job offers having been there only 4 years, walking out there with a skill set to write computer programs, going to General Motors and learning computer languages there. So Florida A&M exposed me, gave me the knowledge, and gave me some opportunity for experience to be able to encourage the next generation of people who would need this type of help to move on. And I'm the second generation Rattler. My aunt attended, majoring in nursing and education, and now my grandchildren are at Florida A&M. My granddaughter graduated in December, and my grandson is there. So the HBCU experience is there for us to continue it and to pass it on so that we can help others learn what we've learned. The secret to success is knowledge.
That's why I love being at FAMU too. I mean, I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about our history. And I really feel like we as HBCU students, faculty, staff, everybody involved in there, we're gonna have to step up in this time. I mean, this is we are each other's family. I mean, we talk about FAMU, we say we family. We always connect with each other, but we're really
Yeah,
gonna have to be the ones who are lifting each other up and taking things beyond what's going on, not just sticking to a month, not just, not pushing back against legislation. You still got to teach that history, and you still got to make sure students know where they're coming from. And y'all, I know y'all may be wondering, you just want to have this conversation. Yes, I did, but I also had to do a shameless plug because there's actually going to be more talking about this conversation at an upcoming event that Commissioner Cox is getting ready to do. Could you share more with the audience what that'll be?
absolutely. We are very fortunate in our community that here in Leon County and the city of Tallahassee, we do have people who believe in what we're trying to do. And so on February 28th from 6 to 8 p.m., we're going to do a program called the State of Our Black History. And I have three great panelists. I'm going to call them brothers in the struggle. We have attorney Chuck Hobbs. We also have school board member Darrell Jones, and we have a FAMU professor in Reginald Ellis. And each one of these powerhouses are going to share information with us about how we navigate these waters. Chuck Hobbs is a noted writer who has a paper called Observation after his last name. Darrell Jones, a school board member who's a graduate of Florida A&M University and a prolific orator and writer. And then we have the well-skilled and knowledge-based and research Reginald Ellis, who was a part of helping to develop that statewide curriculum for teaching African American history. So I just believe that you ought to be there, be in the place. It's going to be live streamed. Mega Ace Media is going to be live streaming it for us. And we're going to have a traditional Black meal. When I say that, we're not having hors d'oeuvres. We're going to have some dinner. So it's free of charge. It's going to be at the Family Life Center, Bethel Family Life Center. Thank you to Reverend Holmes and the Bethel family for allowing us to have it there. And thank you to all those who are helping to make this happen. But February 28th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Bethel Family Life Center, located at South Bruno Street.
Yes, y'all, please be there. Please, please, please be in attendance. It's not just an event. I know you hear free food and that ignites people. Yes, come for the food, but stay for the conversation. The conversation is going to be the real meat of the event. And I really do think it's something we have to do. That's the one thing I love about our community in Tallahassee. I mean, we're real big on being honest and still having those conversations. Make sure you bring your children there. Make sure you
Yes,
bring the whole family. It's for everybody because
absolutely.
we as a community have to stick together for this cause. I'm just happy that we're able to have conversations like this. And I mean, my last thing I'll leave everybody with before I close up is that we do have to do better as a community. This is our fight, and we cannot sit here and ignore the fact that any of this is happening. It is happening in real time, and you must wake up and really start to get in your head that this is the world that we live in. But anywho, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Miss Dianne, can you share any way people can connect with you in case they want to learn more about the event or just get in contact?
Absolutely. You can find it. I'm advertising it on Facebook. You can go to my Facebook page, Dianne, Dianne, Williams-Cox. You can see it there. I'm also putting it out. I'm open for media interest to air it. And also reach out to the individuals who I've named who will be a part of this. They will give you an earful of great instructions on who we are and what we're needing to be doing. And I'm hoping that we will do more of this. Next month, I hope to do the same thing for Women's History Month, because this world would be nothing without us women. And yes, I said it, we birthed a nation. So we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's give credit where credit is due. So thank you so very much, young woman. It's amazing to see you all grown up and blossom. I've known you since you were about 3 or 4 years old. And I'm just so proud of all that you're doing. I'm so glad you chose to be at FAMU, so we get to watch you grow up close and in person. And kudos to your mama and your grandmama and all those who have poured into you and are enriching your experience, and your professors. So I just say, keep going, Miss Kaylin. You got this, girl.
Thank you. I am so appreciative for you being on. Y'all know I love me, Miss Dianne. Everywhere I go, I have to make sure I give her a hug. But y'all know, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I'm so grateful for every single last person who consistently tunes in. I want you to make sure you connect with me on my social media platforms. You can subscribe to the Kaylin's Caring Connection Inspire Moments with Kaylin YouTube channel. Turn on your post notifications. Also follow me on Instagram at Kaylin Cares 15, on LinkedIn and Facebook at Kaylin's Caring Connection. And by all means, please visit the website, which is www.kaylinscaringconnection.com. As I wrap up the show, I always want you to remember one thing: you are loved, you are enough, and you matter. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Until next time, be blessed.